Alright, I've already done my best of list for 2016 and 2015, and now to the list I'm excited to do the most, my favorite movies of 2014. And just to say this, I'm not going to do a typical top 10 list, I'm going to do a top 15 list, because I think 2014 is the best movie year of the decade. And this was such a tough list to make. There were so many films I wanted in my top 10 but just didn't quite make it. And for the films that I wanted to put in my top 10, I wanted to give recognition to, and I've decided to expand the list a bit. 2014 had a great mix of Oscar contenders that really had something special about them and awesome blockbusters at the same time. I'm really excited to do this list, and like I always say, this is all my opinion. These are the movies from 2014 I love the most. If there is something here you disagree with, that is totally fine. I respect that. Also, if there's a certain film you've never seen and it looks interesting to you that you might want to check out, please do. Alright, I've got 5 honorable mentions on the list. I'll go through those rapid fire, alphabetically as always. American Sniper, Big Hero 6, Enemy, Snowpiercer, and The Theory of Everything. All good movies, just didn't quite make the list. Now, let's get into the top 15 list of the best movies of 2014. Starting at number 15 is a great sci-fi film from one of my favorite directors, and that is Interstellar. Even if this and Tenet are the Nolan films I love the least, I still think this is great. This film had such an interesting and ambitious story. I was in it from the beginning. I love the setup with how Earth is. Matthew McConaughey gives a fantastic performance. He definitely carries this movie in one of his best performances. The scope, the visual effects, the presentation of the whole thing is just outstanding. A terrific musical score from Hans Zimmer, especially the docking theme. And also it's got strong emotion as well, especially one particular scene with Matthew McConaughey. And if you've seen this movie, you likely know what scene I'm talking about. Although this is a pretty polarizing film, I'm definitely on the positive side of Interstellar. At number 14 is a great start to an awesome action franchise we have right now, and that's John Wick. What an exciting action comeback this was for Keanu Reeves, and I think this is his best action role since The Matrix. Terrific action scenes, especially my favorite, the one set at a nightclub. Top-notch stunt work, all well shot and well choreographed. Yeah, John Wick has a good emotional story too, and I feel like there's enough substance to this movie to make this more than just a typical generic action revenge film. I am so glad this movie was successful enough to get a franchise, and I can't wait for John Wick 4 in 2022. At number 13 is one of the Best Picture nominees, and that is The Imitation Game. Benedict Cumberbatch is absolutely fantastic. In my opinion, the best performance of his career as Alan Turing. This was a well-directed historical drama. It's very well written. This film won the Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar, well deserved. An interesting story about Alan Turing and his team trying to break the Enigma code during World War II, and Keira Knightley also gives a great supporting performance as well. But mostly, this was a touching story about a man who was gay living in World War II, where that was seriously illegal, and also the heartbreaking things that happened to gay people during that time period. That is just scary that happened back then, and just, it's really sad what Alan Turing went through. And out of the Best Picture nominees in 2015, this was one of my favorites. At number 12, you want to talk about a huge Best Actor snub right here. This is probably the biggest one of the decade in Nightcrawler. Jake Gyllenhaal is one of my favorite actors of all time, and he is absolutely incredible in this movie. Best performance of his career, just how he plays Louis Bloom, how he talks, his posture, his eyes, the look, how much weight he lost to this role, how committed and dedicated he was to this role. Jake Gyllenhaal he is unbelievably good in this movie, and it just makes me mad that he was not nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor. Just seriously. But anyways, Nightcrawler was a well-written character study that was both funny and engaging. It's a very well shot film, especially the nighttime sequences at Los Angeles, and also a thrilling climax as well that had my heart pounding. Nightcrawler is a great movie, and definitely one of Jake Gyllenhaal's best films. At number 11 is one of the funniest films of 2014 from one of my favorite directors, Wes Anderson, in The Grand Budapest Hotel. Anything Wes Anderson does, I'm automatically interested. and he does not disappoint here, and he is at the top of his game. Everything about the filmmaking in this movie is top notch. From the outstanding production, costumes, makeup, a great and memorable musical score from Alexander Desplat, how funny this movie is and witty, the wonderful ensemble cast, especially Ray Fiennes in the lead, who is just so good here, the witty, hilarious, and entertaining script, and it has so many funny scenes in this movie, and this is definitely top tier Wes Anderson. At number 10 is my runner-up animated film of 2014, and that's How to Train Your Dragon 2. This is not only how you do an animated sequel right, it's how you do a sequel in general right. It does a great job at continuing the story, it ups the game with the animation, the scope, and the attention to detail in the animation. Introducing great new characters, especially Hiccup's mom Volca, voiced by Cate Blanchett, who is great. And also a menacing and great villain who I just hated every moment he was on screen. Strong emotion, especially one particular scene that made me think, oh my god, DreamWorks went there, and it gave me the feel similar to a Pixar movie. And it continues the strong friendship from the first movie between Hiccup and Toothless. Although I think this and the predecessor are two equally great films, and I may like the first one slightly more due to the element of surprise, I still think this is definitely one of DreamWorks Animation's best. At number 9 is to me the biggest surprise of 2014, and that's Edge of Tomorrow, or Live, Die, Repeat, or whatever you like to call it. It's Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow does such a clever and entertaining way of showing its time loop presence of living the same day over and over again, similar to Groundhog Day. It's constantly exciting and not boring, and there's not one moment where it becomes annoying or repetitive. Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt are great together. I love their chemistry. This is definitely one of my favorite Tom Cruise action roles because this was a very different role from him. And that he plays a coward in this movie and he doesn't want to go into war and he's forced to. And he actually goes through an important arc in this movie and you actually want to see him succeed by the end of this movie. And of course, Cruise brings his energy, charisma, likability as he usually does. And Emily Blunt in this movie being one of my favorite female action heroes. So awesome. I loved her in this film. It was surprisingly funny. Excellent action scenes directed by Doug Liman. Really good visual effects, a mix of both practical and CGI. The aliens in this movie were terrifying and I was legit afraid of them. In general, Edge of Tomorrow is awesome. At number 8 is evident right here that Marvel had such a great year, Guardians of the Galaxy. This is easily the funniest MCU film and definitely one of the most entertaining ones. Despite not that many people knowing about Guardians of the Galaxy before seeing this movie, this film gave great character development. And we're all perfectly cast. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, who is just really good, so funny, so charming. Zoe Saldana as Gamora, so awesome and giving her a good backstory. Great introduction to Dave Bautista as Drax, so funny and he was awesome. And in particular, Vin Diesel as Groot and Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon stole the show for me. Hilarious comedy, amazing visuals, and surprisingly good heart, and Guardians of the Galaxy is just a total blast, and definitely one of my top 10 favorite MCU movies. At number 7 is my pick for my favorite animated film of 2014, and that's the Lego Movie. Everything is awesome. Sums up this movie perfectly. I was surprised how good this movie was, how this film could have been just a product placement movie, ended up being more than that. It was smart, witty, fast-paced, entertaining, and even heartfelt. All the characters are memorable and fun to watch, from Emmett, Wildstyle, Batman, Good Cop, Bad Cop, Vitruvius, Lord Business. I love these characters. The hilarious comedy in this movie, and every time I watch this movie I laugh. And I've watched this movie about 15, 25 times. It has such great replay value. The terrific animation that was both a combination of stop motion and CGI, and has good messages at the end about being creative and showing your imagination and what you can do. And I am still upset to this day that this did not get an Oscar nomination for Best Animated Film. Like, why? I can't believe it. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was good. I really liked both Jump Street movies. And just this proves why I love both of them. At number 6 is another great Marvel film, and that's X-Men Days of Future Past. I was surprised at how perfectly balanced the story was. How it took so many characters, both old and new, and putting a time travel story involved, and made it work so well. It flowed well, it didn't get messy or convoluted. Definitely a strength of the X-Men movies is the cast, and this is no exception here. Hugh Jackman, as always, is perfect as Wolverine. I can't imagine anyone else playing this character but him. It was so great to see both Ian McKellen as Magneto and Patrick Stewart as Professor X both back. What was great in First Class is still great here, from the chemistry from both James McAvoy as Professor X in younger years and Michael Fassbender as younger Magneto. I love their conversations, and they are just so interesting to watch together. I love both of them. And Jennifer Lawrence as well as greatest Mystique. I love the arc she goes through in this film. It is exciting action, it's thrilling, funny, especially the kitchen scene with Quicksilver was pure awesomeness, and I absolutely loved it. Terrific visual effects too, and a really fun time travel story. This was my favorite X-Men film until I saw Logan 3 years later that topped it, and this, definitely one of my favorite X-Men films, and definitely one of my favorite superhero films up to 2010s. At number 5 is my favorite Marvel film of 2014, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is one of the best superhero sequels ever made, up there with Spider-Man 2 and The Dark Knight, that vastly improves the predecessor in every single way. I love this was a more darker film than the first. It had brought a spy element to this movie that was interesting, and it even reminded me of a Bourne movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was awesome. And I'm really glad that this was the first Marvel film to be directed by both Anthony and Joe Russo, and they would later direct Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. They are the best directors in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Great acting from this film. Chris Evans continues to be perfect as Captain America. Scarlett Johansson continues to be really good as Black Widow. The more I saw from her after the Avengers, the more I like her, and she's becoming one of my favorite MCU characters, and I can't wait to see her solo movie. Anthony Mackie was a good addition as Falcon, and I can't wait for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney+. That looks awesome. It was riveting throughout, a really good mix of practical effects and CGI effects, and it's basically everything a sequel should be and more. And Captain America: The Winter Soldier is my favorite film in Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and one of my favorite superhero films. At number 4, proved why 2014 was such a good year for sequels, and I think this is even better than the predecessor, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This was such a good continuation after Rise of the Planet of the Apes taking many years after the first movie, and Andy Serkis is just phenomenal as Caesar, and it's some of the best acting in motion capture I've ever seen. And how Andy Serkis is not nominated for an Oscar yet, I just don't understand. The man is a fantastic actor and just so talented, just what he does in motion capture and without it, and how he brings so much emotion to Caesar in all 3 movies, Rise, Dawn, and War, and gives it his all. And the visual effects continue to be absolutely phenomenal after Rise. Some of the best motion capture and CGI from Weta. It's just absolutely incredible what they were able to do with the apes, the fur, and the details. Not one of these films in this trilogy did not win the Oscar for visual effects. At least one of them should, either Rise, Dawn, or War. It's just seriously incredible work from the CGI artists. And this film has an amazing villain, Koba, who is both menacing and you understand where he's coming from. Matt Reeves did a great job directing this movie, and I'm so excited that he's going to be directing The Batman, coming out in March 2022. Sucks I have to wait, but I am still excited nevertheless. This, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes shows why this is one of the best trilogies out there. At number 3 is a great thriller from one of my favorite directors, David Fincher, in Gone Girl. Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike are absolutely fantastic in this movie, and both of them give the best performances of their careers. Rosamund Pike in particular, she gave my favorite female performance of 2014. Leading or supporting, she should have won the Oscar for Best Actress. David Fincher definitely shows why he's one of the best directors working today, and he absolutely knows what he's doing behind the camera. How gorgeous the cinematography is, the haunting musical score, the engaging mystery. Well, this movie keeps you guessing, and it's well edited. The acting is just so good. Everything about Gone Girl just worked on so many levels, and it's definitely one of the best thrillers I've seen in years. At number 2 is one of the most unique films I've ever seen, and won the Oscar for Best Picture, Birdman. Alejandro Iñárritu is an amazing director, and this and The Revenant definitely shows why. This is a one-shot film, and I'm just in awe at the amount of time and preparation that went into this film. making this movie ambitious and making each actor give the best performance they can. The amazing cast ensemble, this was a fantastic comeback for Michael Keane. Edward Norton also gives a terrific supporting performance. Emma Stone is really good in this movie and has a great monologue in this movie. And even Zach Galifianakis is really good here. And most of all, I just loved how ambitious, unique, and strange this movie is. I can't think of another film like this. And I also love how this movie touches on themes of trying to stay relevant, some blockbuster movies, criticism. This film just talks about so much, and there are so many layers to this movie. Birdman is funny, ambitious, gorgeously shot, and it's just wholly unique on so many levels, and I'm so happy this movie won Best Picture. And now we're here to my number one favorite film of 2014. It's one of my top 20 favorite films of all time. Drumroll please. Whiplash. Everything about Whiplash I adored, and it's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life, period. This was a thrilling, riveting, and inspiring story about a jazz drummer who wants to be the next great while going through an abusive and psychotic teacher. And this film is just a powerful underdog story that had me glued to the screen from the opening shot to the final shot. Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons in this movie are absolutely fantastic in this movie. And both of them give their career best performances, and starting with Miles Teller, he carries this movie. And this and The Spectacular Now really shows how talented Miles Teller is as an actor. You just feel so sorry for the main character, just him going through these struggles and these abusive teaching methods. It's just so heartbreaking to watch, and just to see him overcome that and to succeed, it's just feel so happy for him, and just Miles Teller absolutely nails it. And J.K. Simmons in this movie, he won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for this movie, and it's very well deserved. One of my favorite Best Supporting Actor wins, and my favorite antagonist roles that won the Best Supporting Actor Oscars: Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men, Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards, and J.K. Simmons is definitely up there. He's funny, intimidating, and such a memorable performance. J.K. Simmons absolutely crushed it every time he was on screen. And this film has some of the best editing I've ever seen. Just a quick cut and fast-paced editing made it so exciting and not distracting. It flowed well from scene to scene. And also, one of my favorite endings of all time. It had me glued. It was absolutely riveting and intense. I sweated. My heart was pounding, just gripping. This is definitely the best drum solo scene I've ever seen. Just wow. A big wow. And with all that, Whiplash is definitely, without question, my favorite film of 2014. And those are my top 15 favorite films of 2014. And I'm continuing to make my best of list for 2013 through 2010. However, I am very busy with my job right now, so I might get back to those videos maybe around mid-January to early February. This Christmas to the end of the year, I'm excited to bring more videos. I'm excited to watch Soul on Disney Plus. I can't wait to watch that. And also Wonder Woman 1984, I'm planning on seeing in theaters. I can't wait to see that movie. I really like the first, so hopefully the sequel will be good. And a few questions I would like to ask you guys. What did you think of 2014 overall as a year for movies? Do you agree with me that it's one of the best movie years and the best movie year of the decade? Let me know below. And also, what are your favorite films of 2014? Top 10? Top 15 like me? Top 20? Let me know below. And also, make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.